Hi, it's Steve Grizzetti again, co-founder of MoviePix.com and author of the MoviePix.com Guide to Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements Together. In addition to its ability to work with actual photographs or existing images, Photoshop Elements includes a number of tools for actually creating things. You can actually create graphics from whole cloth, from scratch, right in Photoshop Elements. If you look here on the toolkit, you'll see that one of the options you have is to add a shape. And shapes are kind of cool. They're unique. I'm just going to randomly grab a shape here, say for instance the circle. And if I drag that over Buddy's picture, you see that it adds a shape here. But take a look in the upper right hand corner on my layers panel, and you'll see that shapes have some unique characteristics. Namely that they don't have resolution. And that can be important because we know that pictures are made up of lots of little squares, that's resolution, and that there is a limit to how far we can stretch those squares before the squares start to show in our picture. Graphics, like for instance these shapes that we've added to the program, are what are called vector elements, which means that they don't have a resolution. I can take this circle and I can make it as large as I want. I can stretch it out like this, make it as big as I want. It will never break up into individual pixels because it is made up of vectors. It is defined by its outline, basically. So vector objects have a number of unique characteristics, and I show you in the book how to use them and how to flatten them and turn them into pixels. But the program comes with a huge library of vector objects. So I'm just going to delete that one right now. I'm going to go back here to the panel and I'm going to select the shape tool again. And you see that in addition to some basic shapes here, including a line that you can add arrowheads to, a polygon tool, there is also a custom shape tool. When I select that, you'll see that I have, let's see if I can get this up here. These are the default shapes, but if I go to show all here, look at that. A huge library of shapes that you can add to your photo, and these, like I say, have no resolution. They are actually vector shapes, which means you can shape them and enlarge them or shrink them as much as you'd like and then use them in your photo. The colors that these shapes will be, let's just go ahead and we'll grab, for instance, I don't know, this little starburst, are based on the colors that are here in your color palette, your foreground, background colors. So let's go ahead and close this. Now I have the starburst selected, but before I draw the starburst, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to double click on the foreground color and change the foreground color to yellow. And now when I draw my starburst, it's going to come in as a yellow object. So huge library. You may want to take advantage of those. It's a great way to create original graphics right here in Photoshop Elements. So let's go ahead and delete that. I want to talk about text. So before I do that, I'm going to set this back to black and white, my foreground and background colors. I can do that by manually, of course, selecting black from the color picker, but instead I'm just going to press the D button on my keyboard and that automatically sets them back to black and white. And we'll select our text tool here. And by default, of course, text is horizontal. It means as I type it, it types horizontally from left to right across my photo. But there are other options. For instance, I can do vertical type. If I select that, it actually types from top to bottom. And there are options here for creating masks with your text. In other words, if I were to type across here, it actually would create a selection based on the shape of the text. So some unusual stuff you can do there. Most of the time, of course, you're going to just be working with regular text. I'm just going to double click on the text here on my photo so I can select it again and open up the text options in the tool options panel. And you see you have, of course, options as you might expect for selecting the font for your text, as well as selecting its size and selecting its color. And as long as the text remains a separate layer, in other words, as long as you're working with a PSD file, text will remain editable. You can move the text wherever you'd like it. You can add to it. By the way, if you want to resize it, you're not limited to using the tool options panel. In other words, I don't need to only select its size and leading here, but I can also select the selection tool, which is up here at the top of the toolkit, and then simply drag on the corners to make my text larger and smaller. Because text is a separate layer, you can also go to Styles here at the lower right-hand corner of the program, select that, and any of these styles can be applied to your text. So for instance, if I select blue glass and double-click on that, you can see it makes my text look like blue glass. Chrome fat instead, you can see I can apply textures and color and even three-dimensional embossing to any text, just as I could any layer that was selected when I go to my Styles menu. So there's a lot you can do here with text in Photoshop Elements. As long as you are working in a PSD file and your text is a separate layer, you can re-enter it at any time and edit it.